Hello everyone and welcome to the 14th episode in the series of things you may have missed in The Witcher 3. As always, if you've missed any of the previous ones, feel free to check the full playlist down in the description. This will be the third video where we talk about the Blood and Wine expansion. In the first two, we covered the main story, and now we're off to the side quests. Also, I'm a little sick, so if I sound nasally or whatever, apologies. For number 1, we are going into the arena. You know, from the Warble of the Smitten Knight quest, and the fact that you can find a poem in the tent with your colors on, written by Guillaume about Vivienne. In it, he's having a difficult time writing the proper verse about her breasts, comparing them to jugs of milk initially. And not only that, but later on when he stands guard and you investigate the tent, you can actually hear him reciting a version of this poem.
Oh, fair Vivienne, thou hast dove's eyes within thy locks, thy lips are like a thread of scarlet, thy two breasts are like...
And speaking of tents and notes, let's move on to number 2, which takes place right after the tourney concludes, and only if Geralt was the winner. You may have missed the fact that upon returning to your tent, you will find another 2 letters, one from a male admirer and one from a female. Now, the male admirer gives me faint homosexual vibes. His message reads, "My fiery hero, I'm your greatest admirer. Ever since seeing you in the arena, I have longed to be just like you. Thoughts of you keep me up at night, for you are so beautiful, so perfectly muscled. A shy devotee." The female admirer, on the other hand, is quite strongly heterosexual. She says, "To the owner of those strong arms, men like you drive me wild. I want to have a herd of your white-haired, scar-faced babies." From an enthralled admirer. And speaking of female admirers,
long live the champion!
You actually get one in the flesh. This woman here shows up if you become champion,
long live the champion!
And follows you all around the arena grounds, indefinitely pretty much. I could only escape her by either leaving the area altogether or fast traveling away.
Long live the champion! Greetings. Lepio to keep you from hangovers too.
Okay, enough with notes and messages for now. Let us focus more personally on Guillaume and Vivienne. There are several outcomes for their quests, and it's a little hard to tell which parts are the most difficult to miss, but let me give it a try. For number 3, I'll put forth 2 details about them, one larger and one smaller, and both of them in case they end up together, which of course happens if you transfer her curse onto him. And by the way, that scene has a small nod to one of my favorite parts of the Witcher books, namely the ending of Nivellen's story.
Read about this ritual in grimoires. Descriptions all seemed dramatic, embellished. All stipulated a condition that seemed improbable.
What condition was this?
A real bond between those involved. True love.
But anyway, in that scenario, here are a couple of things you could have missed. First off is a scene after the ending of the game of the 2 of them by the palace. Here's how it goes.
I'm not at all fond of that chain you wear. It clashes horribly with my dress.
But it's my dynastic crest.
I don't like it.
Very well, darling. I shall put it away. My mother's invited us to afternoon tea tomorrow. She would like very much to meet you.
But I told you, my dear, we're expected tomorrow at a Mandragora soiree. Greetings, Witcher.
You're well? Everything seem in order?
We are, and it is. I thank you again, Geralt.
Noticed any changes? Anything strange on your body? Troubling symptoms?
How shall I put this? I've grown some feathers. Well, down, to be precise.
Whereabouts?
Why mention it? It's such a minor problem.
Personally, I like it.
Well, take care, you two. Lovebirds.
I'm not sure if I should envy him or not, and the second smaller bit that you may have missed is that if the two of them end up together, they will actually be seen standing side by side right before the vampires assault Beauclair.
At times I hunt foxes. Do you know how it works? The ducal huntsman releases the hounds. They catch the fox's scent, chase the animal down, and lead the battue to it.
Then perhaps your grace should have sent a beagle instead of a witcher after the vampire.
You tread on thin ice, witcher. Very thin.
Alright, detail you may have missed number 4 is once again about the couple, but this time in case you did not do the Warble of the Smitten Knight quest at all. You must have noticed in that case that Guillaume is found dead right before the ending of the game.
A knight's body. Guillaume. Poor fool. Lost blood. Lots of it. Wrung dry, you might say. Numerous wounds. Must have fought a tough battle before he died.
I think the only way to miss this is if you go straight to Oriana, but what is easier to miss, in my opinion, is that later on, after the ending, at this location right next to Lebioda's gate in the cemetery, you can find none other than Vivienne herself crying over what has to be Guillaume's grave. I find this curious because it seems she really had some true feelings for him, even if you didn't do anything to bring them together. So this will be number 5, and as you may have guessed, it's about the third outcome of their quest, the one where they do not end up together in the end, and she has 7 more years left to live. A couple of things that may escape you here. I've already made videos about most of them, but I can't avoid mentioning them anyway. So the first one is, after the ending of the game, Guillaume can be found drunk right about here.
Guillaume, what are you doing here?
Leave me be. Without my Vivienne, life has no meaning. You are the last to whom I wish to speak.
The mighty shall fall from their high perches, and the intemperate shall drown.
And as for Vivienne, she's instead found at Novigrad's docks, claiming she's on her way to Skellige and even winking at Geralt.
Will you take it?
Of course. Thank you. And take care.
Later on, with the help of some console commands on PC, you can actually unlock her character in Skellige in the same room where Yennefer stayed, and she does not have any dialogue, but she does go around in several different patterns, basically sightseeing in the area surrounding Caer Trolde. And we're now done with Guillaume and Vivienne, which has got to be the most extensive side quest in Blood and Wine. And before we move on to the next detail, let me take a short moment and ask you to give this video a like if you've enjoyed it thus far, and perhaps to subscribe to my channel if you haven't yet done so. Alright, enough lollygagging, let's move on to thing you may have missed, number 6. In the previous episode, I showed you how Dandelion's visit can change if the Duchess died in the end.
Henrietta.
Dandelion.
That is, the Duchess.
Dandelion.
I wouldn't want...
Dandelion. Anna Henrietta. She's dead.
What?
Now, after continuing that save and doing some of the side quests, I found at least one more that changes as well. And it's the one where you meet the Bard from the tournament once again. So normally, if you do this quest before the ending, or after an ending where Anna Henrietta lives, he says the following.
What's the matter?
I've hit upon the perfect ending. And all for the glory of her grace, the Duchess.
Thought this was about a witcher and a coiffeur. What's the Duchess got to do with it?
Her grace can be as fickle as the colt she rides. Today, all remember my fine couplets at the tourney. Yet tomorrow, her illustriousness bought by her breakfast might demand a new epic poem. One must grab at opportunity before it flits away.
But what you may have missed is that if she has already died before you meet him, his dialogue changes to this.
Ah!
What's the matter?
I've hit upon the perfect ending. And all for the glory of her grace, the Duchess.
Thought this was about a witcher and a coiffeur. What's the Duchess got to do with it?
Her illustriousness was always so very kind to me. My poem I've decided to dedicate to her martyrdom.
And he also gets this line when you talk to him randomly.
I dedicate this ballad to the memory of our stately, our magnanimous and gracious ruler.
Okay, I now have 3 more details that are brought to you, well, by you, the viewers. So, starting off with number 7, this one comes from a lady by the name of Catherine, let's just say Catherine for the time being. So, when she wrote to me, I was 99% convinced that she's mistaken, but amazingly it turns out that she's right. She claimed that during the endings, where the Duchess meets and judges her sister, you can tell whether or not SYANNA will forgive or kill Anna Henrietta based on the look of Anna's jewelry. More specifically, that this gem over here will be the color of blue if the Duchess is doomed to die.
I shall never forgive you.
And it will instead be red if SYANNA is about to forgive her. And what do you know? This is actually true. So thanks, Catherine, for this crazy little detail. Okay, moving on to number 8. I have already made a video about it, and it was once again because I just couldn't hold my excitement, but I'll mention it here anyway. Brought to you by a viewer called Tears of Sorrow, comes this rather unique scene where if you wait until dark before seeking the Duchess to report your findings from Corvo Bianco, you'll actually find Palmerin asleep.
It's late, I know. Sorry to bother you. But I need to talk to the Duchess.
And how is it we passed from your account of the investigation to reminiscing about the succubus?
'Cause those were good times. And we were younger. Always nice to talk about that.
Thank you once again, Tears of Sorrow. Can I perhaps add something else about Palmerin, for those of you who've seen the video and know of this detail already? Perhaps you could have missed the fact that he ends up winning the tournament not only if he beats you in the final group fight, but also if he loses it, provided however that you've lost all of the previous games.
Sir Geralt of Rivia did not give his best. He failed, missed his marks, and did not pass the test. A failure, a loss, a tragic trip. Let us hope with his sword he makes no such slip. The world's never seen a fight quite so glorious. For showing such verve, each knight was victorious. Yet in tourneys as in life, but one champion may reign. Today he is the one. Praised be his name. He felt a whole host, slew the most. Palmerin de Lomfol and Gregoire de Gorgon, 2 knights of high valor shall fight to be champion. Geralt of Rivia shall not stand in La Belle. Though hopes he raised high, of victory short, he fell. To the tired Tremenda, we salute your endeavors. Return to your wives, your loves, your whomevers.
Okay, now it's time for the final viewer submitted detail. At number 9 we have something brought to you by Manar, if I'm pronouncing it correctly. Believe it or not, it once again has something to do with jewelry and the royal sisters. It is part of the Knight for Hire quest, specifically the place where you have to go to claim your rewards for your chivalrous deeds. The building is located right over here, and Manar wrote that inside you can find a clue about SYANNA's connection to the heart of Toussaint before the Duchess explains it for us. There is a painting of the ducal family in there which shows little SYANNA wearing the same jewel on her dress. And another thing I find curious here is the rather striking similarity in both appearance and style between present-day Anna Henrietta and her mother on this painting. And finally we come to number 10, where I would like to compile 3 things that you may not have seen, but I ultimately thought they were too small to have their own dedicated numbers. So the first one is the cutscene that plays if Geralt loses the fist fight if you take part in the tournament as Ravix of Fourhorn.
Dropped something.
I demand satisfaction. You've insulted me twicely.
And twicely ought to be enough.
You refuse to duel? Then I shall show you how I treat cowards! You shall be hallowed by the sword of my sword! Out together, cricket! You're as good as becracked! I had been waiting long for that, freak. Now you've gotten what you deserved.
Not done yet.
Leave him, Geralt. He's not worth it. And we've come here for an altogether different reason.
We shall meet again, mutant.
The second bit is the letter you can find in the tent of Prince Ansay of Rivia and Lyria from none other than his mother, Queen Meve, where she is clearly displeased that he disobeyed her and went to Toussaint anyway, and she also claims she'll stop giving him any money regardless of his performance on the tournament. And the final thing is once again about Count Tai, I think that was his name. Have you noticed that he actually dies in the end of the game? It is him the BRUXA kills before Geralt has the chance to fight her.
Get her out of here.
And with that, we are done. Let me know if you've enjoyed this one. Was there anything you've missed? Or do you perhaps have anything further to add about the things I mentioned in here? Regardless, I thank you very much for watching. Special thanks to the people who commented and sent me messages to help make this video more interesting, and last but not least to my YouTube members and supporters on Patreon for helping make all of this possible. And as always, until the next video, stay tuned and be good.